Hi, everybody. Gene Ginzburg, digital marketing expert of GeneGinzburg.com, and I have Simon Yu today. Simon, how's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me, Gene. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, you have a very interesting story. So I love to. I heard it already once when we spoke a little bit earlier, but I wanted all of our audiences, of course, just to hear about it. It was kind of an interesting story. So yeah, tell us about your background and how you got into being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, my name is Simon Yu. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Storm. So we're a blockchain company that rewards users cryptocurrency by checking out and completing small tasks that could range anything from checking out products and services to earn money. You can do freelance work as a developer or janitor or do whatever you want as a skill or check out machine learning tasks. And there's a variety of things that you can do. So pretty excited about our project that we've been working on since 2014. But yeah, going back to my history, I have a bit of an interesting background because first started with selling Korean tacos. So when I was 19, um, I didn't have enough money for tuition, so I had to drop out and I found a full-time job, but I still couldn't afford rent. So I started delivering Korean barbecue tacos to students around my college campus from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. And then this is one of those things that helped me really spark my entrepreneur journey. I started with asking my dad to let me borrow $100, and being a traditional Asian parent, he's very against it in the beginning, but I eventually convinced him to let me borrow it. Ran through the funds, and within 2 months, the business really started picking up, started going viral, and then was able to turn $100 into 10,000. And then I learned how to trade stock options, and then turned the 10,000 into $30,000. And in the meanwhile, I applied for over 200 scholarships to get a full ride back. Graduated, got a job in banking, and I opened the food truck business while I was doing that, and turned that into a $500,000 business. And then I got really fascinated with blockchain around 2014, having run a retail business, because one of the reasons was it blockchain had the power to make transaction fees nearly zero, which is very fascinating because every time you swipe a credit card, think about Visa, MasterCard, or American Express, that's a multi-trillion dollar industry by having to pay the 3% transaction fees. And essentially eliminating that, and also having exposure to banking with how many fees, just wire transfer fees, ACH fees, and all this stuff, just saw the massive potential and started getting really into blockchain technology. And over the last 4 years, we've been building Storm, and we've been rewarding users across 187 countries.
Wow, that's such an amazing story, going from being broke in college to selling tacos to creating your own taco truck. Wow, I mean, that goes, I have to say, it's pretty exciting. I wish my story was, my entrepreneurial journey was that exciting. But also amazing that you're disrupting this space, right? I mean, it's just, I talk about this all the time, in my content, is like, with all of this new technology, there's so many disruptors in all of these different spaces, whether it's social media, whether it's banking, whether it's manufacturing, because people got a little too comfortable in how things used to be, and now with all this technology, we can do all of this much more easily, quickly, on the cheap. So I love that you're disrupting the banking, credit card slash payment processing space, because I just think that somebody needs to do it, and so it's fantastic that you're part of the movement as well. I mean, yeah, it's just 3%. That was a pretty good living that MasterCard and Visa were working on for a long time, and now it's probably not going to be the case anymore in the near
Yeah.
future. So. Cool. Well, what about what's going on? Like, what's going on now with your company? What are some exciting projects you're working on?
Yeah, so I definitely like to say that we're one of the fewer companies in blockchain space that actually has a working product and had a working product for a while. And so for us, it's about just feature development and making the product more useful every day. And so for us, we've been really focusing on more of the advertising technology over the last 4 years. So directly connecting brands with users. And one of the beauties of blockchain is you can reduce the need for a middleman. And so for us, one opportunity that we saw was, hey, Uber is paying millions of dollars to try to get their name out there to a bunch of customers and just connect them directly to the user. That's ultimately their end goal. And say, hey, we'll give you $50 if you try out Uber for the first time. And so that was kind of the first way to really earn. And we saw, we had over 2 million downloads and across 187 countries. And so we knew that something was there. And for us, the next steps is how do we allow people to be able to earn more? And then so for next project that we're working on is really getting into the freelancing space. And so for us is one, we've been really efficient with microtransactions using blockchain. So for the first time in history, we're able to send someone halfway across the world, whether it's someone in India or China, payments as low as 2 to 10 cents for almost pennies or to like fractions of a penny. And before it just wasn't possible because you had to use wire transfer fees, foreign transactions, or even PayPal is getting too expensive. And so now we can take really small amounts or even up to large amounts and make it efficient. So now we can impact the global workforce, or anyone that just has a mobile device. And even in emerging countries, there are people that have smartphones these days, and people across just all over the world that have devices that can just work and just be able to earn more money. And we can do it by saving them a lot of fees and just giving more of the earnings back to the users.
Wow, that's amazing. I think that's what we're all looking for, right? Cutting out the middleman and making sure that, people are getting the most out of, the biggest bang for their buck. So that's amazing that you guys are working on that. Very cool. And what about social media in your business? Being a digital marketing expert, it's a topic near and dear to my heart. So how are you implementing social media campaigns or getting your word out there, for brand awareness or your company?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have our Twitter page, storm_token. So it's just pretty up to date. But I think posting content as frequently as possible, keeping people up to date on what we're working on is extremely important. Also, just keeping up with trends. The space is really crazy. A lot of things just keep changing. Regulatory perspective, tax perspectives, also privacy. There's hackings, and a lot of people are really interested, especially with the recent boom that happened in the cryptocurrency space over the last year. But just in general, I think people are starting to understand blockchain technology a little bit better. And so us being able to just provide useful content also helps a lot, whether it's directly or not directly related to us. I think it's extremely helpful because when we first started, it was right after Mt. Gox and Silk Road, and so most people thought we were money launderers or drug smugglers.
Yeah, there. I think there is a bit of a that kind of connotation potentially in the space. I mean, in the beginning. Now, of course, it's changing because now everybody knows that like that are not money launderers because this is a legit technology now. But that's interesting. But I can absolutely relate to that because being a digital marketing expert and being in social media, I have to stay on top of those social media trends all the time. Of course, privacy is one of them, but also just like changes to social media and all of the functionalities that all of these platforms are adding every day. So absolutely, I can relate to that because I have to relate all that information back to my clients and let them know, hey, this is a new functionality, or this is no longer it, or the algorithm has changed. That happens, of course, on a daily basis. And I'm sure the same is with blockchain as well, because there's always changes there as well. Very cool. Well, yeah, that's interesting ways to use social media in your business. So going back to just some lessons that you've learned, you've been doing this for a while, and being a startup founder, I'm sure you have learned quite a bit, but share maybe 3 lessons that you've learned, top lessons that you've learned being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and I've gone through, just running multiple companies. I literally started with $100, and this is and the journey has been a long one, just tapping into different industries. But definitely, I think persistence is always the key. You have to always be learning at the same time, just because you can never let your guard down. I think one of the reasons why Blockbuster failed was because even though they were the monopoly and they were dominating the industry, this new technology came in and they just got too comfortable, right? So they thought that, oh, people love coming to the stores, so we're going to keep this model instead of trying to innovate. And ultimately, they got overcome. So you can't really plan a business for the short term, whether it's for 1 year or 2 year. You really have to plan something for 23 or 30 years. And you have to be willing to stick to that philosophy in order for you to actually make an impact. And so but that takes a lot of hard work, a lot of hours, and a lot of weekends and nights, and you just have to put the personal sacrifice. But also be willing to just pick up the learning industry. And like you said, Gene, just following social media too is really helpful. What are your users looking for? What's the next trend? Because trends always keep changing. And just trying to listen to what people want and delivering that to them instead of trying to come up with a product that nobody might use at the end of the day. I think another really important value lesson that helped me for a while was just ignore noise, especially when you're a first-time entrepreneur. For when I first started the food truck, for example, our truck caught on fire 3 times. Our equipment broke everywhere. We were almost out of cash flow, but then we really started looking into the data and analytics and what are people ordering, what can we reduce, and then what can we actually improve, like what are the margins like, and looking at a lot of the data and just being able to focus. But until that point of success really came, or it took a long time to get to the successful point, but people around you will start talking and they'll try to put you down. And oftentimes that can get really, really difficult from an emotional level. And I think a lot of people have troubles with that because, when they hear something bad about themselves, they don't like it. So they want to give up. And one of the things is if you give up, then that's the end. There's no more. So there's always a chance to turn it around. So just staying focused to your goal and just being able to just constantly deliver, I think is really important. And just focus on cash flow. I think a lot of tech companies take this for granted. They tend to just burn investor money as much as possible. But having run a retail business and consulting and tech company, and I know that if you focus on the cash flow, you can sustain for a long time versus just thinking about your short term and when you need to raise the next round. Because if you have actual revenues and actual users, that also helps you prove a point that you're actually building something useful for people. And so that's really important in my opinion. So.
Awesome. Yeah, those are really good lessons for anybody who's listening to this, whether you're a startup, whether you're starting a company. Absolutely. These are amazing lessons. Or if you're trying to raise money or have a technology startup. So thanks for sharing that. That was really helpful, at least for me, to learn about that. So yeah, thanks for the insight. Great. And then I guess before we wrap up, last question is, how can our audiences get in touch with you or your company?
Yeah, you can feel free to add me on LinkedIn. I'm Simon Yu. You can add me on Twitter, Simon YUSEA, and you can follow me. I post interesting content about blockchain occasionally and updates about Storm. And we are building a really interesting product just because you can go to one place and just find a variety of different ways to earn money. And at the end of the day, if you're asking people, why do you have a 9-to-5 job? And it's because the end objective is you need money. You need money to eat 3 times a day. You need money to have a place to stay. But if we could take bits and pieces of that and just have a platform where you can work anytime that you want to, at anywhere you want to with this device, we offer flexibility and we offer kind of a different way to just think about jobs and how we operate as human beings. And you should definitely stay tuned and keep looking forward to our project. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And disrupting the job economy, I guess, as well, too, right? I mean, it's no longer the 9-to-5 anymore, right? So many freelancers out there, so much of the gig economy that you're part of as well. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
We definitely want more disruptors and more innovators in the startup space in general, just because so many times companies get so comfortable and then they just miss it all, right? Because they get so comfortable. So absolutely. Yeah. I love hearing these amazing stories and project that you're working on. That's so helpful for me, and I'm sure for our audiences as well. So thank you so much for being here today and sharing your story, sharing information about your company. Of course, I hope all of our audiences get in touch with you. Cool. Well, thank you again, and we look forward to having you on the show again. Thank you. Have a great rest of the day.
Yeah, have a good day.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye.